Welcome to episode 2 of Tales from the Arctic Axemen. In today's episode, I chat with Earl Pereira, bassist and frontman of the Steadies from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I'm from Saskatchewan as well and first became aware of Earl through my grandma's church friend. Her nephew was Sheldon Dingwall, a bass maker from Saskatoon. I was 8 or 9 years old, just starting to play the guitar, so she gave me a brochure for Dingwall basses. In the brochure, there was a picture and a write-up of Earl. This was around the time his band Widemouth Mason got signed to Warner Music and released their debut album. Soon after, I was hearing their songs on the radio and seeing their videos on Much Music. They were nominated for Junos and became one of the most successful bands from Canada in the 90s. As a kid growing up in the prairies, it was exciting and inspiring to see that a local band could achieve any level of success, let alone open for AC/DC and the Rolling Stones. Even though I was really young, I could tell that Widemouth Mason were different than the other Canadian rock bands. They combined blues, soul, and pop in a unique way. I followed them throughout their career and heard Earl left Widemouth Mason and started a new band called Mo Badass, which they later changed to the Steadies. They play rock, reggae, and pop music, which they dubbed Island Rock. About 5 years ago, I was playing in a band and our singer was from Trinidad. He happened to grow up with the Steadies guitarist, Juice. We got a gig opening for them and became fast friends. Besides being an all-around great guy, Earl is an exciting frontman and an incredible bass player. After this interview, I joined them for their gig in Kingston and sat in for a few songs and I had a blast. Their music and their live show is always a party. I always have fun hanging out with Earl and I'm excited to share this interview with you. All right. So do you want to talk about the Dingwall basses?
Dingwall is a company from my home city, so it's a Saskatoon-based company. Specializes in, his name's Sheldon Dingwall, brilliant man. He specializes in using the Novak fan fretted system for bass. So basically created the fan fret, you can see it fans out at the top here, to mainly bring out the true tone of a low B string.
Yeah.
So extra scale, the extra tension on a low B makes it feel like it's the E string. You know, a lot of 5-string basses, the B string always sounds out of place, doesn't sound like the rest of the bass.
Yeah.
And it's because it doesn't have that tension, enough tension for it to have the proper tone. It's always a little bit rubbery, a little bit a little bit too thick. I don't know what the word is, but so that was really the design. But they realized that it works for every string.
Nice.
So bringing out a better tone out of every string with more tension.
Yeah.
Added bonus to that is that for anyone with carpal tunnel or tendonitis, it actually alleviates that, having that fan, so your hands naturally go that way.
Yeah.
So you're not putting any strain on your tendons. So that they didn't mean for that to happen, but that was kind of an offshoot. This one particular, Sheldon started making basses in the mid-90s. That's when he launched his company. He made this as a prototype because if you look at the Dingwall sites, the basses themselves look very, especially his earlier ones, they have a signature look to them. The fanning is way extreme and the body is really modern.
Yeah.
But he wanted to make a classic looking line of basses, and this was his first crack at it.
Nice.
Ernie Ball got a little bit, I don't know, they just felt like the headstock was a little too similar.
Oh, okay.
So they weren't going to allow him to mass produce it.
Yeah.
So this is the only one.
Nice.
I got it. And
what year did you get that?
I got it in '98. And it doesn't even, Sheldon makes his own, Dingwall started making their own pickups in 2000 and forward.
Okay.
So this, you can tell it's an older bass when it's got Bartolini's, doesn't even have Dingwalls in it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing I can say about them is that this bass has been with me for ever since '98. Even the back headstock, the serial number is just his handwriting, and the serial number is my year of birth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, bass players have played it from different bands, like Daryl Jones from the Rolling Stones played it for their sound check one time when my old band Wide With Mason was opening for the Rolling Stones. AC/DC touring, any big shows I did, which was all earlier in my career, this was the bass.
Yeah.
So it's pretty special.
Cool. So who is the why the bass? You know, what drew you to the bass?
Well, I started a band when I was maybe in grade 7 or 8, and everyone played guitar. So we had a drummer and 3 guitar players. So my oldest brother, Efren, was a touring bass player already, way before I started playing. He's 7 years older than me, so I was just a kid when he was already on the road. And his band would use, their jam space was in my house, my family home. So basically whenever he wouldn't be around, me and my buddies would use his jam space without telling them, and I would end up playing his bass just because I felt it sounded terrible with 3 guitars. And I'm like, someone's got to play bass, so I might as well be me.
Nice.
Yeah, so I just picked it up and the way I went, which was great timing because I was learning how to sing at the same time. So I was playing bass and singing right away. And hearing from a lot of other players over the years, I think it's a hard instrument to sing and play with, depending on what kind of music you're doing, I suppose. But I find it was really hard to do at the beginning, but once I got that out of the way, it made it seem like I can. It's a lot easier for me now.
Yeah,
you know?
not a lot of guys do it, right?
Not a lot. No. Yeah. Even like one of my favorite bass players of all time, Michelle Indegiacello from New York City, she can't sing and play.
Yeah.
So she has a second bass player on stage.
Yeah.
So she only plays when she's not singing. When she sings, the other guy plays.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a B.B. King thing.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't play and sing at the same time.
That's true.
So, yeah.
What were some of those early bass lines? Where did you start? You know?
Some early bass lines. Well, we were a cover band, so when I was a kid, so that doesn't really count. But we started writing. I honestly don't remember some of the songs I wrote back then. They were terrible, so I try to wipe them from my memory. But in Wide Mouth, I think. I'm trying to think what would be a good bass line. I mean, you asked me earlier if I write with bass lines.
Yeah.
Right? And I do a lot more now than I used to. So I'll just pick up and start playing around and can turn it into a song if it feels right. So just off the top of my head, like stuff on my latest album of my band, the Steadies, the song "Take Me Home" was a bass line.
Cool.
We just built a song around it. So I just started messing around with the riff. It was like. Just an E riff. I just wanted something funky. I heard a Pharrell album.
Yeah.
And heard a track, and I was just like, you know what, I just wanna. And the bass line was the main thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that today.
Yeah.
And I just sat down and came up with that, and turned to a song that ended up being the first single off the record.
Yeah.
There's a part in the bridge where I get to do some volume swelling. So yeah, it's really easy to do, like to build songs around bass lines. Just friends of mine in another group, they're like a DJ duo. They came over to my house and they were like, you know what, we need an anthem song for our band. So can you we want to build it around a bass line. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want me to build it to? And he just started kind of singing it a cappella, and I just started jamming with it. So it was like, the melody was like, so they were like, oh, that was it. So I recorded that for them, and I take it so that they're making a track out of that. And yeah, I mean, I used to just do everything on guitar, but now I just try to find different ways to make music and write songs. So I'll use piano sometimes, I'll use keys. I'm not a piano or keyboard player, but it just gets you out of your regular routine and kind of mixes it up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes time to laying down the bass line, like how do you, what are some of the choices you make, you know? If you have a guitar, you know, some chords.
My style mainly is just, you know, sticking sort of traditional. I'm not kind of like an individual soloist bass player kind of style playing, but I just like laying down lines that just fit the song.
Yeah, because you have a way of like, they're really recognizable bass lines, and they're great lines. They're up front, but they're, you know, they kind of fit right in the right place in the song, right?
Oh, for sure. And that's the goal, is always to serve the song no matter what. And with our style of band, it's kind of got a funkiness to it, but it also has a bit of a reggae-ness to it too. So sometimes I'll just come up with progressions that are a little more, I don't know, elaborate as far as the progression goes, like make a song out of that. Right. So I like using my thumb and palm muting. Sometimes I get that dub bass sound, right? It brings on leaving a bit of a lower.
So that's how you
rounder tone. Yeah. So I've got I got a major callus on my thumbs. I play with my thumb a lot.
Yeah.
Totally different tone, right?
Totally.
But I always say it's all in your fingers, just all in the way you play and on your fingers, and it helps to have a really nice instrument as well. So, but yeah, that's my thing. It kind of weirds people out a little bit, and not weirds them out, but other musicians sometimes have trouble wrapping their head around it, playing a bass line like that and singing, because they're very different. Like, this one I kind of follow it, but sometimes the bass line will be completely opposite of what I'm singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it just comes down to practice, I guess.
Yeah.
Working it out, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess one more thing was you're saying, you know, when Wide Mouth was touring with the Stones and AC/DC, and like, you know, it doesn't get much bigger as an opening band for, you know, those touring with AC/DC and the Stones.
Yeah.
What did you learn from, you know, those experiences of the big shows, you know, and that kind of production?
I think a lot of it is just sort of how to carry yourself, you know, and just be a professional. And I learned a lot about just performing, you know, watching those guys at that level, especially someone like Angus Young or Mick Jagger. They both got really, really sick during each of those tours. So sick that they shouldn't have been playing, and yet you couldn't tell, you know.
Yeah.
They were and their age as well, right? But they just gave it their all, and were basically carried off the stage afterwards, straight to like the hospital. So twice that happened for each of them. So seeing something like that, and then you hear musicians complaining about anything, just shake my head at that. 'Cause I'm like, it's a perfect example of why you should always, play your hardest all the time. A lot of, some musicians get away with sort of mailing it in some nights. So that's what I learned. A lesson back then is just to be consistent, be professional, play hard, leave it all out there, because you're playing for the person that has never ever seen you play, or the fan that seen you for the first time that is a huge fan. So you got to think about them. It's not about you.
Yeah, totally. Cool. So thanks for talking to me.
Yeah.
Earls in the band, the Steadies. They're on tour right now. Check them out on iTunes, steadies.com, right?
.ca.
.ca,
Yep.
YouTube. All right. Cool.
Cool.